So hi, everyone. This is just the second presentation we was meant to have earlier today that we wasn't able to have due to some technical issues. So I've got Cath and Cara here from Salvation Army Wales, who are going to talk about sort of the approach that they take to harm reduction and some of the work that they do in Wales around that. And then at the end, I'll just ask them a couple of questions because obviously we've lost that element of it, but we've still got the presentation, which is really, really good. And thank you to Cath and Cara for agreeing to do this. It is really appreciated. So I'm just going to hand over straight to both of you to take it away and do your presentation.
Thank you. I'll just open up the screen now so we can see what we're talking about. Okay.
Amazing. Thank you, Jo. So good morning. I just wanted to thank you for the invitation for us to be here today to talk about harm reduction within our services and projects. So my name's Cara Forsey and I'm the project manager for the Salvation Army's Housing First project in Merthyr Tydfil. So I'm here today with my colleague Cath Docherty, who's the project manager for Housing First and Outreach Services in Cardiff. So our presentation today will begin with me providing an overview of the Salvation Army's portfolio of services, including both Cath and I's Housing First projects. I'll also be outlining the core principles that we work within. The Cath will then take over to talk about the Salvation Army's harm reduction approach and its journey to embed this within all its services that it offers. So she'll then go on to talk more in depth about harm reduction within Housing First for both project clients and the staff team and discuss the ways in which we work to apply them effectively. I'll then finish the presentation by sharing some quantitative outcomes along with feedback and stories from both the individuals we support and our staff teams, which will also include a short video. And then we'll have some time at the end then for any questions that anyone has. So the Salvation Army is an international church and charity and has a portfolio of a range of services within the Wales and South West region. Within its homelessness services unit portfolio, it offers floating support services. So this provides 300 units of support across Cardiff, helping individuals and their families to effectively retain their tenancies while supporting with health and financial needs. This is a prime contract in partnership with the United Welsh Housing Association. We've then got a section for young people services. So this includes supported housing and tenancy support. This supports 106 young people across the city within a variety of residential and community-based settings. We've then got Northlands Lifehouse, which is a 25-bed hostel in Cardiff. This supports young people aged between 16 to 21. So this hostel provides 24-hour support where young people are able to explore their needs with the goal of developing skills to move on to independent living. We've then got adult services. So within this, we've got Table Bath, which is a 73-bed hostel in Cardiff city centre. And this provides 24-hour support, 7 days a week, supporting individuals within a range of needs. We've then got the Compass project, which is a specialist project providing intensive specialist support to individuals with more enhanced support needs who may find it challenging within the normal hostel environment. We've also got the Bridge programme, which is a residential detox programme that takes a biopsychosocial approach to working with alcohol and substance use. We've then got Davenport and Zion House, which is based in Plymouth. Davenport House is a 62-bed hostel. This supports individuals with substance and complex needs. Zion House has 12 flats supporting individuals to gain independent skills to move on to more independent living. And we've also got outreach services. Within this, we've got the reconnection service. So this service supports individuals that the local authority do not have a duty to support. So this can often be through a lack of local connection. It may also be due to the fact that the individual may not have any recourse to public funds. We've also got the Bus project, which provides assertive outreach to rough sleepers across the city. So this service operates in the night time, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. And this service delivers holistic intervention, supporting individuals to access accommodation and meeting basic needs. Last but not least, we've got our Housing First projects, which are mine and Cath's projects, and we'll be talking to you more about those in the next slides. So I'll start off by going through the Housing First team in Cardiff, which is Cath's project. So this team is made up of 10 staff members within a number of different roles. The project was originally funded by the Welsh Government with partner project Cardiff Council as a pilot project back in June 2017. It's currently funded until March 2021 with the hope that it continues to grow. So the project is currently funded to support 25 individuals within their own tenancies in the community. Since the start of the project, they have created 23 tenancies, of which 20 of those tenancies are still active. The individuals no longer in tenancy with the project continue to be supported to gain a new home. The project offers flexible hours of support Monday to Friday with additional support on weekends as on call. The project team is currently working with 9 individuals as part of a search of outreach who are currently awaiting to be matched to a suitable property. So next up, we'll talk about Merthyr, the Housing First team in Merthyr Tydfil. So that is my project. So this project has a team of 6 staff members working within a number of different roles. So the project was originally funded back in November 2018, and that was to support 4 individuals into their own homes within the community. So the project was continued and increased until March 2021 to support 8 individuals in their own home within communities. The project is funded directly by the Welsh Government via our partner, Merthyr Tydfil Local Authority. So since the start of this project, we have created 5 tenancies, of which 4 of those tenancies are still active. The 1 individual no longer in tenancy also continues to be supported at outreach to find a new home. So the project currently has 4 individuals being supported at outreach who are waiting to be matched to a suitable property. Again, the support matches that described in Housing First Cardiff, in which hours of support are flexible with additional on-call support. So more recently, in September 2020, the project was commissioned to create a post for an intensive homeless prevention worker. So this post was specifically designed then to support complex individuals that have already been placed in community tenancies that would otherwise be homeless if it not for specialist intervention. This post has been currently funded until March 2021. So when the Salvation Army first started working to develop Housing First to form part of its services, the core principles that were used were the homeless link principles that were in place for England. So when we started to work with North Cymru, the umbrella body for providers of homelessness, housing related support and social care services in Wales, to produce a set of core principles that were specific to Wales. So the first principle is that people have a right to a home that is affordable, secure, habitable, adequate both physically and culturally, and with availability of services. It should also be dispersed in the community and not as part of an institution. So the ways in which we work within this principle are that we have an open access to accommodation attitude to all suitable clients. All accommodation within projects falls within the local housing allowance rates to ensure that it is affordable for those on a benefit income. All the local authorities, the registered social landlords and the private landlords that we work with have an agreement with the project that ensures any property offered is secure, safe and a good standard of maintenance and decoration. So the second principle, flexible support is provided for as long as it is needed. So the ways in which we work within this principle is that support is currently offered on an indefinite basis and is flexible and responsive to suit the individual's needs within their homes. So the support is constantly evaluated and assessed to ensure that each client is getting what they want and need and that all the support is tailored to each individual. So the third principle, housing and support are separated. So the way in which we work within this principle is that support is separate. So the support provided by the Salvation Army is separate to that offered by the landlord who is solely responsible for the property. So the support that we provide is given without condition, and although every effort will be made to support the relationship between the Housing First tenant and the landlord, the needs of the client will always take precedence for the Housing First support team. Principle 4, the service is targeted at individuals who demonstrate a repeat pattern of disengagement with hostile accommodation and individuals accessing rough sleeping or emergency overnight stay at the point where the referral is made. So for this principle, the individuals who are involved in our projects have been specifically identified as having enhanced needs. So they are entrenched rough sleepers, they are challenging to engage with, and we as a project, deliberately seek out the most challenged individuals who have repeatedly failed to maintain transitional accommodation. So the majority of our clients have rough slept or moved around transitional accommodation for an average of 15 years before they come onto project. So the next principle is individuals have choice and control. So within our projects, individuals are able to select a variety of areas that they would feel comfortable to live, so therefore being their choice. If a client wishes to be accommodated in a certain area, but a social tenancy cannot be sought, we will work hard then with the individuals to seek private rented accommodation within their chosen area. The principle 6, a harm reduction approach is used to substance misuse. So for this, all stakeholders within the project are aware of and committed to a harm reduction approach. So what this means is that all stakeholders accept that abstinence may not be an achievable or desirable goal for all of those involved in the project, and that's okay. But what we do is we look at the successful maintenance of the tenancy, that should be the presiding factor by which success should be judged. So as part of the Salvation Army, we also operate a steering group, which happens on a monthly basis. Within the steering group then, we've got other partners that come involved, including accommodation partners, as well as support from the NHS and substance and criminal justice services. The principle 7, the service is delivered in a psychologically informed and trauma-informed way that is sensitive and aware of protected characteristics. So to do this, the Housing First team takes a strength-based approach and are committed to supporting individuals in a way that is personable and achievable to them. So the team demonstrates sensitivity, compassion, understanding, and are always looking for resolution-focused approach. And this forms an integral part of every decision that we make as part of Housing First steering group. All the client risk and information, any other sensitive information, is shared only on a need-to-know basis, and this is shared in order to help all parties involved. So in order for us to understand how the trauma may have led to where they are today. The principle 8, an active engagement approach is used. So as a project, it's our responsibility to engage with the client in a way that they want and that they choose. So that could be face-to-face, it could be over the telephone, it could be email, it could be text messages. We always try to strive to do it in a way that's comfortable for them. The time and location of engagement is decided by the client, and therefore that's why the team have flexible hours then, so we can try and accommodate that as best as possible. So all the clients are provided with an emergency out of hours contact and procedure to ensure the support can be made available 24/7 to meet the need at any point of crisis. We also have an assigned specialist outreach role within both teams, and this person then works with street-based individuals who are quite challenging to engage with. We are as a project quite robust to the challenges of engagement and accept that clients will not always want to engage positively every time contact is made. We take an active approach in mapping clients' known locations and work in a variety of flexible hours in order to engage with individuals that are comfortable for them. Again, it's down to their choice. The principle 9, the service is based on people's strengths, goals and aspirations. So as a project, we have an explicit commitment to a small caseload. So each specialist support worker carries a small caseload of 5 clients, and this is assisted then by an assistant support worker in managing that caseload. So the Housing First team takes a strength-based approach and are committed to support an individual in a way that is personable and achievable to them. In terms of reporting, we are committed to delivering project reporting that is entirely driven by the thoughts, feelings and personal achievements of the individuals within our projects. We're motivated to demonstrate the varied highs and lows our clients have along their journey to independence. The co-production of all our project reporting makes our service particularly unique. On a day-to-day basis, we support clients in a variety of activities that are directed and prioritised by them. So these can be activities such as life skills, such as cooking and decorating, sporting activities, and a personal favourite of mine, and a lot of others, is walking the dogs. So we do a lot of other fun activities, such as visiting the local cinemas, and often look for community volunteer group activities as also a way then for people to integrate within the community. Part of the presentation now I'm going to hand over to Cath, who's going to do the next part of the presentation.
Thanks, Cara. So over the past decade, it's fair to say that the Salvation Army have been on a bit of a journey when it comes to harm reduction. We've gone from an organisation that focused on abstinence to one that now promotes choice as the most positive method of working with those who are using substances. The Salvation Army now lead in delivering a harm reduction strategy that encompasses practical, social and spiritual interventions that are focused on well-being in all of its forms. Rather than concentrating specifically on what substance a person is using, our focus is on strengthening resilience and addressing specific causes and consequences of the substance use that the individual wants to address. Our recovery model takes into account the environment that person is living in, their culture, and the social networks around that person. On our journey, we've developed a harm reduction policy, which I'll just briefly read to you now. So we have a set of practical strategies and ideas to help to meet service users where they're at and reduce negative consequences associated with substance use and other harmful behaviours. Our approaches are inclusive rather than enforced and aim to reinforce positive change in a person's life, no matter how small or incremental that change may be, giving service users a real voice in the creation of programmes and policies that are designed to serve them. It recognises that the realities of poverty, class, racism, social isolation, past trauma, sex-based discrimination and other social inequalities affect both people's vulnerability and capacity for effectively dealing with harmful behaviour. It understands substance use and coping strategies as complex, encompassing a continuum of behaviours from severe use to abstinence, and acknowledges that some ways of using drugs are safer than others. This approach works to minimise its harmful effects rather than simply ignore or condemn them. And lastly, it calls for a non-judgmental, non-coercive provision of services to people who use drugs and the communities in which they live in order to assist them in reducing harm. From our development and exploration, we've also come to reflect upon the type of accommodation that we offer as a service and how that can pose challenges when working to reduce harm for our clients. The majority of accommodation and support options for individuals who are homeless across the UK come in the form of transitional and temporary systems. In the Salvation Army, our large hostels move on around 75% of individuals positively. This is not a criticism of transitional systems. For a lot of people, transitional systems work really well. However, among the 25% who are not successful, there are a growing proportion of rough sleepers who've attempted multiple times to navigate this journey without success. Each time they experience eviction or abandonment, and the barriers to re-entering services become greater and more complex. So why don't transitional spaces work for everyone? Well, there are a number of reasons. I mean, navigating transitional systems and spaces is often conditional on somebody's behaviour. For service users, there's a perceived lack of choice. Anybody engaging in transitional systems. There's difficulties in providing a customised approach to support. These are large, busy buildings, and not everybody's needs can be met in a personal way. Transitional spaces and systems, as I said, are often really big and really busy environments. And big and busy spaces often are breeding grounds for transference. And what I mean by that is when someone in the hostel is angry, it's very easy for everybody in the hostel to become angry. It's also really hard to build trust with multiple professionals. And when the individual, or if the individual is unable to navigate the system, they often have to go all the way back to the beginning before they're able to start again. So what can work better about Housing First? Well, Housing First is self-contained. That person has their own space that feels safe. There's far less conditionality around behaviour and lifestyle choices. Support is one-to-one with fewer professionals, which makes it a lot easier to build trust. And that support is also bespoke and personal. The support is there to solely advocate for that person and to remain impartial. Often, the neighbours and persons who live around the individual are a little bit more secure and perhaps a little bit more stable in their lives. And if the initial home isn't right, a new offer of a home can be made, which completely stops that need for that person to restart their journey, going all the way back to the beginning again. So the key principle of Housing First is that an individual is supported to move from the street into their home. It reduces harm by making that person feel immediately safe, providing them with a consistent, supportive relationship throughout the process and giving them the opportunity to make independent and autonomous decisions. The principles of Housing First are grounded within harm reduction, and Housing First meets individuals where they're at, removing systematic barriers and agency-driven goals around abstinence and the reduction of substance use. Housing First acknowledges a person's substance use as a part of the complex nature of that person and helps that person to make safer choices around their substance by creating safety, reparative relationships, and over time supporting that person to develop their autonomy. I mean, me and Cara aren't the only people that think this. There is lots of research around Housing First and the abilities of the Housing First model. It's proven that Housing First has higher housing retention rates. There's a higher perceived sense of choice. There's fewer hospitalizations. There's a reduced involvement in criminal activity. But I suppose what makes us unique in what we're delivering is not only the focus on harm reduction for the individuals we support, but also the focus on harm reduction for the teams that support them. Within Housing First, the pathway to safety, the development of a reparative relationship, and the gradual move to autonomy is a journey that the individual and the staff team enter into together. Through increasing safety and building a reparative relationship, we reduce harm for our client and team and ultimately support individuals to develop their autonomy, reducing the need for intervention from professionals. The journey towards creating safety starts with the offer of a home. By providing someone with their own home, you immediately offer a sense of permanence, identity, and trust. Having a space that is yours and that you're entrusted to take care of helps a person to start to think about themselves in that way as well, that they are permanent, that they are valued, that they are trusted, and that they can be cared about. Having control over where and how you live promotes choice, and when someone feels that they have the power to make choices, it opens the door to the potential of reducing harm. Having a home provides a safe alternative to street-based use. It offers opportunities to divert focus away from using substances through stabilising support and diversionary activities. It offers sanctuary and safety away from the continuous cycle of street-based substance use. When establishing our Housing First project, it became really clear to us that feeling safe and grounded was as important for our teams on this journey as it is for our clients. We learned that in order to make this project successful, we would need to help our teams to manage its impact and reduce any harm that the relationship with our clients might have upon themselves. We approach this in a number of ways. We've taken on a values-based recruitment process where we focus on the key strengths of potential team members, their empathy, their passion, and their resilience. We offer an extensive training pathway covering key frameworks including PI, understanding adverse childhood experiences, attachment theory, and trauma-informed practice. We have a keen focus on staff wellbeing with specific training around emotional regulation. We seek to develop close team relationships through ongoing coaching and mentoring. We offer one-to-one and group reflective practice across our teams for members at all role levels. We take on-the-ground leadership and a management approach, ensuring that we are transparent, fair, supportive, and readily available to our teams to offer opportunities to reflect and support where needed. And as part of that, we take a flexible approach to working hours, work base, and work styles to help to manage emotional well-being and ensure our teams have a positive work-life balance. The second key element that helps to reduce harm within our Housing First model is the focus on building strong and reparative relationships between clients and staff. Many of the individuals we work with come to the table never having had a nurturing relationship. Many have been in the prison system or in care and living street-based for most of their adult lives. We are hardwired as individuals to seek out nurturing and caregiving relationships. Creating positive connections with others is not only how we survive as children, but how we thrive emotionally as adults. Within our Housing First model projects, we create the time and ability to develop genuinely reparative relationships. We have the opportunity to heal the wounds created through neglect and systematic failure. What creates that ability is that the relationship between the support worker and the individual is given the time to become genuinely meaningful. The consistency and intensity of the support provided promotes safety and gradually over time begins to create trust. The relationship between the support worker and the individual is equal and collaborative. The relationship is non-coercive, non-judgmental, caring, and seeks to genuinely value that person, their strengths and their talents, and to nurture their aspirations. It also became clear that nurturing strong professional relationships within our teams was the complementary mirror to the reparative relationships we build with our clients. Being able to effectively advocate and curate the support of other agencies around the person helps us to understand each other better. Within our Housing First model, we have some key tools to achieve this, which Cara has already touched on a little bit. So Housing First Cardiff and Merthyr Tydfil both accept project referrals through the process of a multidisciplinary steering group. The steering groups comprise of project support staff, housing partners, partners from health, the criminal justice system, outreach, as well as other key professionals who are called directly to advocate on behalf of the referred individual. At our steering group, we positively explore applicants who wish to become part of the project. The steering group process is a key part of reducing re-traumatization for clients through the process of retelling. We as a project will advocate fully on that individual's behalf, telling their story and sharing their challenges. We also support when individuals wish to present their own dialogue to the group through letters, videos, or pictures. By promoting understanding about the client and the model for partners. So education and development of partners' understanding is a really key process of the group, and we continuously challenge and explore the reasoning behind behaviours and choices for our clients. Reducing harm for the individual and their new community as well by effectively sharing information. We highlight potential challenges and we promote strengths. The relationships with each partner in the referral and housing process are absolutely vital, and a significant amount of my and Cara's time is dedicated to understanding the needs of those partners, their values as an organisation, and supporting them to align effectively with the principles of the model. On the ground, our teams are trusted and supported to broker key relationships with other professionals, helping to navigate clients through the complex systems and to develop their own skills in relating to others around them. So by creating safety and developing nurturing relationships, we're able to support individuals to a point of autonomy where they're able to make their own choices to reduce harm. A large part of how we do this is by promoting self-worth, by focusing on diversionary activities that are led by clients and their interests. And Cara has mentioned a few of these already. So we do therapy walks with Clive the Beagle. We make music. We focus on self-care. We garden and we learn new maintenance skills. We paint, we cook at home. We go to the cinema, we play golf. We make art, we go for coffee and lunch. We've even done a little bit of beekeeping. We've climbed Pen y Fan. I mean, we didn't quite get to the top on that day, but that's really not the point. We celebrated that success. We noticed it because even the smallest changes for someone are noticed. Choosing to wash today when perhaps they haven't washed for a very long time. Choosing to get up in the morning even when it's really difficult. Choosing to walk away from a challenging situation rather than meet it with anger. Choosing not to use today or choosing to drink less than you normally would. Every small opportunity that someone has taken to reduce harm is celebrated passionately and sincerely. We help clients to develop their confidence in brokering relationships with other professionals. Quite often, for example, this may take the form of support to attend an appointment, but always with the aim of helping that person to the point where they can attend alone. But the thing is, it's not just hand-holding. There are many more steps to it. It's preparing for the appointment, mantraing, thinking about potential outcomes that may happen, how we can react to these outcomes, how we can manage if we feel threatened in the appointment or if we feel scared, debriefing, reflecting, resolving the experience, celebrating the elements that went well, and then doing it again and again and again until it sticks, until it starts to become easier to make the choice to go on your own and feel confident to do that, knowing that things will go well. The bedrock is the consistent caring support that can reduce or intensify, wrap around that person when there are dips in the road. The genuine commitment to treating every individual within the process, client, ourselves, other professionals, with unconditional and positive regard, but also respectfully challenging when appropriate, learning to reflect upon our decision making and sometimes even knowing how and when to say sorry. All of these aspects are important parts of learning to grow and learning to make better and safer decisions. I'll now hand back to Cara, who will share some of the outcomes we're achieving through working in this way.
Thank you, Cath. Okay, so using all of the methods discussed by Cath in the previous slides, it's important for us as a project to capture and evaluate how these have worked for our projects and shape their outcomes. So as projects, we use both quantitative and qualitative measures, and these contribute to our reports to the commissioners. So here are some of the projects combined, some of the outcomes of the project combined from both Cath and I's projects. So the first one, 83% of our clients continue to live positively in the community in their own home. Our longest standing client has lived in his property for 3 years, which is just absolutely amazing. 100% of our clients have engaged with harm reduction support in relation to substance use and health concerns, something that they may have not engaged with previously. 93% of our clients have successfully worked with project teams to reduce their engagement with criminal and antisocial behaviour. 100% of our clients feel physically more healthy and able since receiving support, and 100% feel safer and mentally well, that their emotions are more manageable. Both of these allowing clients to focus on what they really want out of life. So our projects also use feedback forms completed by the individuals we support to provide a true reflection from the individual's perspective on how they feel the project has helped them. This also gives them the opportunity to talk about their own personal achievements. We also use this feedback to shape the service we offer, to ensure that the individual's voice is heard through every part of our processes. I'll read out a few of these because I do think that they are quite impactful. I have started Buvidal and no longer crave heroin or other substances. This has helped me to start thinking clear again and begin enjoying the things I love again, like music and writing. Another, I feel like my life is getting back on track. Having the flat and being off the heroin has helped me get my confidence back, and also I have been able to be creative again and do the things that I love. And lastly, I feel more stable in my life and more confident about myself. So as staff form a vital part of the project, the support it delivers and the outcomes it achieves. Their feedback and feelings on working as part of Housing First are so important to capture. Here are some of the thoughts from our Housing First teams within Cardiff and Merthyr that we've shared with you. Again, I'll read out some of these. I found that working within this service, compared to other services I've worked with in the past, there's a feeling that person-centeredness is at the heart of everything we do. Another, I've known many of our clients, our Housing First clients, for many years. Before this project, I never believed that I would see people who had led such challenging lives find safety and comfort in their home. And lastly, we work alongside individuals and empower them to explore what path they would next like to take in life. Individuals that previously felt they had no path left to take. It's an experience that is humbling and unique. So here we're going to share a short video that was filmed with Cymorth Cymru with 2 of our clients. And within this video, they talk about their experience of moving into their home, how they feel about being part of the project, and the impact the project has had for them. And I think this video speaks for itself.
Okay, my name's Tristan Morley. I'm living in QUALITATIVE. I originally come from Taffswell, which is just across the river, if you look across that direction. And I am really, really grateful for what I have now, a beautiful home in QUALITATIVE. First of all, I was living in a van, camping, surfing, just about sort of surviving. I could manage to live in a vehicle, but I couldn't afford to maintain a tenancy. My vehicle was getting old, decrepit. The MOT was going to run out. I got in touch with, first of all, Cardiff City Council outreach. I was introduced to Lee Badham. He introduced me then to Housing First, Cath Docherty, because he thought that I would be an ideal candidate for the project which they had just got going off the ground. So I spoke with Cath, she asked me to sort of fill in some forms and do a sort of like a statement about my circumstances. And then that's how we really got the boat rolling, you know. And then it seemed within only a matter of months that she mentioned that a tenancy was coming up in Garth. I knew full well that it was this place, this street. So I wasn't going to refuse. I couldn't care what the condition the place was in. I wasn't going to refuse it. Because what were the options? The options were either a private tenancy or maybe in an area that I didn't want to be living in, or maybe it was unfamiliar. So for me, it was a godsend. Yeah. Well, I felt that I was sort of being invited into something that was a fantastic project, you know. I couldn't believe that I'd fallen on my feet. You know, I've been living in the van and living homeless and without direction for nearly 6 or 7 years. So the idea of being able to get something secure and a permanent place to live was a fantastic idea. Yeah. So I immediately sort of jumped on it. Yeah. And not only that, I felt extremely comfortable. I felt very comfortable with Cath. I felt comfortable with Gemma the first time I met her when I came in to get my tenancy, and the rest of the team. Well, I didn't really have the opportunity to get a tenancy of any sort because I didn't have sufficient income. I was working away from Cardiff, always coming back to Cardiff because it was home base. But I didn't have either the wherewithal or the resources to be able to move into anything secure. And I'm pleased with what I have, particularly with the Housing Association, because there are certain perils which go with living in a private tenancy. And that's the one thing that I value above all else. In fact, when I put in my application, I remember stating that a granny flat would have been the ideal situation. And look what I live in, a granny flat. Yeah, I'm old enough to be a granddad anyway. So I've actually found my ideal, haven't I? Yeah, let's face it. Well, it was bare, but I mean, apart from there being a security door, because I believe there'd been sort of cruel behaviour in the place before, which is unusual for the area. It was bare, but I knew that I could sort of turn it into the little place that I would consider to be ideal, yeah? And after all that time, without a toilet, without slippers, without a toaster, without all the sort of home convenience people take granted, it was, I had a sort of picture of what I have, and I've got everything I need. I don't need anything else apart from artwork on walls. Yeah, I don't need anything else. I've got the appliances were supplied to me, which was part of the deal. I also got a small grant which provided me to get things like bedding and various other things which I could buy, household items which I could buy. The ethic of having everything set up for you is absolutely fantastic. And not only that, I'm extremely grateful as well, because I went from circumstances where I was struggling to be able to sort of make ends meet and get a secure place to live and relying on the goodwill of others. And now I'm part of a community. I know my neighbours. We send Christmas cards, birthday cards. We help out. We talk on a regular basis. I'm part of the community now. So I've actually settled. I have now detached myself from the vehicle and from my sort of itinerant life. Yeah, I'm pleased to say. It was, because it was a loss of independence and something that I was reliant on. The van was home for a long time. In fact, there was quite a long time before I actually moved into the property. I was still sort of like flitting about from place to place before I actually got settled, you know. But I got when I got into meeting with support worker Gemma on a regular basis. Then we got into a weekly regime, and that's when I got settled. When I started doing practical things like shopping and sorting out all the things I had to do with regards to my sort of benefits, utilities, and the rest of it. Well, I was so amazed that I had a place of my own to begin with. After some time when you're homeless, you don't even feel that you deserve a place. Yeah, you got so ingrained in the
Sorry, guys, have we lost some sound there?
Yeah, I think the video's lost its sound.
Okay, no worries. I'll try get that sorted. Sorry, everybody.
okay, my name's Crystal. Deserve a place. Yeah, you got so ingrained in the
Okay, I'm not really sure why that's lost sound. That's not happened previously. I will try one more time, and if not, Joe, we can provide this separately, and anybody who wishes to watch these fully, I can provide this separately for you guys to put on your website. I'll give it one more try. No. Okay, apologies, Joe. I don't think that video is working for us for some reason. So I'll just take you guys back into the presentation, and maybe we can have some Q&A, and I will send that on to yourselves at St. Martin's separately for anybody who would like to see those full videos. Thanks.
Brilliant. No worries.
Back to you.
Yeah, I think you've just said it, Cath. It was just to say thank you for taking the time to listen about our projects and what we love to do and we're so passionate about. So yeah, back to you, Joe, if you've got any questions.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Thank you for that. I thought that was really, really good. And I think just listening, it kind of took me back to my first role out of uni when I worked for the Salvation Army in a big life house. So I definitely recognize some of what you're saying about how traditional hostels and life houses, they can be big and clunky, and how one person can just completely change the atmosphere about that. So just listening to you speak there just took me back a few years. I say a few, I'm being very generous to myself there. But yeah, so definitely. And I think as well, listening to you guys speak as well, I think the stuff you said around sort of harm reduction, not just for service users, but for staff as well, I think is really, really key. And it's good to hear like all the different trainings and stuff that you have to sort of help develop that and make that, I guess, part of like a real culture of what you do, rather than just saying this is what we do. It's part of the culture and it becomes part of the DNA. I get, obviously it's taken a long time, and as someone who used to work for the Salvation Army as well, I can definitely recognize that it might have taken time to shift from an abstinence-based model to where it is now. Was there sort of any sort of resistance to that change, or any difficulties in trying to maybe shift from abstinence-based to sort of harm reduction, and where everything sits now?
I think kind of we're an interesting kettle of fish, as you know, Joe, in the army. You know, we kind of come in two flavours. I always think, where you have us as our church kind of core community services, and then you have us as a charity and as an employer. And I think we don't always say things in the same way, but we're generally usually singing from roughly the same hymn book, in that I think that for a long, you know, something that unites everybody who works in the army is their genuine passion to make life a little bit easier for people who are struggling. And whether you do that as a chaplain through prayer, whether you do it as a volunteer in a charity shop, whether you do it as a project manager like Cara and I, and an assistant support worker, a cook, you know, someone who cleans in a lifehouse. I think that is what unifies everybody, is that genuine, you know, hope, really, to just make things better for somebody. And so, although I suppose, as I said, we all sometimes approach the situation with different hats on, I think actually the ability to journey forward and be more open to accepting individuals however they are in their lives and wherever they're at in their lives, actually, because we are unified in that way, it became quite natural and quite easy to journey. I think it was something that, for a lot of people, as I say, particularly across our cause, it's something that we'd always wanted to deliver, but didn't necessarily have the structure and the language in terms of how to do that. So I think that really, for us, has been really pivotal in our journey. And we've been very fortunate that the Salvation Army took quite a direct approach in terms of funding quite a large piece of work around harm reduction, around the development of the policy and process, also having local and regional harm reduction practitioners who deliver a lot of our specialist training and intervention. And that investment there was really what for us was a turning point. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. I have a tendency to kind of go off on a bit of a tangent, really, a lot of the time. So I hope that does reflect on what you're saying. And going back to what you were saying about you know, working in a large hostel yourself. I mean, my background is hostels. I started working in 2010 at the ripe old age of 21 in quite an intense, what we would call a wet hostel at the time, which was very exciting. And Cara's background is, Cara worked in a day centre. So we know transitional systems, we understand them. And I just want to reiterate again that nothing within what we're delivering at all is a criticism of those systems. They can work really well for a lot of people. But there are also a percentage of people that really struggle in those systems. And so we have to approach reducing harm for those individuals in a different way.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And like what you said, it works for a lot of people, but it doesn't necessarily work for everyone. And how do we approach those individuals and work with them to achieve better outcomes, whatever that might look like, because obviously it's different for everyone, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And I think just the other thing I maybe just want to like pick up on briefly is obviously when you're working in Housing First, and you mentioned this, it's not just one service around the table. You've got loads of different people coming in and buying in, whether that's drug and alcohol support, mental health teams, physical health teams, education, employment, whatever, you know, it looks like. It can be long and varied. How do you ensure that sort of everybody is then doing the same thing in terms of buying into that harm reduction? Because obviously if you've got different organisations around the table, they may all have slightly different policies or slightly different attitudes to not just the people that they work with, but how they maybe approach maybe certain situations or challenges.
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to start on that one, Cara, and then hand over to you so you can talk about local stuff? I mean, when we started the project in Cardiff, we were really fortunate. We were given a grant back in June 2017 to start the project. And so we were really lucky. I know a lot of Housing First projects, particularly in Wales, have just kind of had to happen. Like the kind of money's been there, and then on the Monday and by the Wednesday, you had to have started a Housing First project. But as we were kind of first out of the gate, so to speak, in Wales, we were really, really fortunate that we could do a lot of kind of back of house work to ensure that we had that buy-in from the beginning. So we did like a massive roadshow was one of the first things we did. So we went round and visited lots and lots of partner organisations, particularly the housing associations, to explain the project, to kind of develop and share the principles, to do a lot of kind of troubleshooting as well, because it wasn't, you know, it wasn't a bus that everybody immediately wanted to get on. There were some concerns. It's a very different way of working for certain partners that we work with. But that was kind of our initial focus and our initial development. And from that, then our housing association partners slowly came on board with us. We had a few that approached us with an initial interest because their own principles quite closely aligned to what we were proposing to deliver. And then as the journey went on and there was a level of success, we had other than partner associations come on board and support a little bit later down the line. So we kind of touched on it a little bit in the delivery of the presentation that we've just given, in that kind of educating, supporting and negotiating a change mindset, let's call it, with partners is quite a big part of the work that Cara and I do. And our steering group process is not literally just about, you know, this is Joe Bloggs, we'd like him to be part of the project, you know, these are his problems, this is what he's good at. It's much more complex than that. It's much more about, you know, these are the challenges this person has faced in the past. How can we work together collaboratively? What can we offer each other to make the next steps on this person different and better? So there is a lot of work around that. I mean, Cara can talk a little bit more about what we do on the ground level, but it very much does start from that strategic level down of getting that buy-in right from the beginning, and then I suppose then dispersing that buy-in to the relationship that we have with other professionals on a kind of a ground level. Kind of nothing really goes on for our clients without us knowing about it generally. So if it's a visit from another agency, if it's a challenge engaging with another professional, we're generally kind of we're on the buzzer with that, you know, pretty fast. And it's all about, okay, what's not working about that relationship? How can we make it better? Who needs to visit? How can we make that feel safer for you? Cara, I don't know if you want to say a little bit more kind of locally in terms of how you guys do that.
Yeah, I think obviously just mimicking a bit of what you've already said, Cath. I think we've had quite a few things within Merck that I think a lot of people, I mean, I think there's a very much an understanding of working together to achieve a common goal. Like I said, if somebody's in crisis, if something complex has come up, it's kind of about how we can all work together to try and help that person and kind of make that better for that person then. And I think just on the ground, I think if we have ever come up against any, not even so much challenges, I think it's more perhaps, like I said, if you've got an organisation that maybe got a policy in place that maybe sits a little bit outside of what we're trying to do with the individual, I think it's just a case of communication as well. Like, communication is absolutely key. I think there's nothing that doesn't happen where you can't have a meeting with everyone all together and kind of steer that back in a direction that feels comfortable for everyone else as well. Like I said, it can be difficult. Everyone's got an agenda and kind of we're trying to get everyone together on the same page. But again, I think it's just communicating, and I think people have bought into this project from the very beginning with an understanding of what the concept of the project is and what direction that we're trying to go in. So I think sometimes even if it does kind of steer off path a little bit, it just takes a little bit of work. Then it's obviously mine and Cath's job then to try and realign more services, just to kind of, this is the issue, how can we fix it, and how can we all play a part in that then?
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I think that's brilliant, and I absolutely would echo what you said about communication being key. You know, if you don't communicate what concerns are or what maybe difficulties are, how are we going to work together to tackle them and help minimize them, really? Brilliant. I haven't got any more questions, so I just want to thank you both for that, because that was really, really good. And I know we had issues this morning, so thank you for sort of being flexible and helping me arrange it. I'm sure that's really appreciated by everyone who's going to catch up on this. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Joe. Lovely to meet you and to have a chance to speak to everybody.